We're going back to Jeremiah, and we're going to start in the 33rd chapter. And again, by quick review, I was sharing with you from out of a lot of the prophets because my hope is that we see the full aspect of how the Most High sees us. Most of us have been given the highlights and the good highlights. And all of what has been said is true about the good stuff. All of that is true. But unfortunately, that's not all there is in our makeup. And a lot of times the reason why the highlights, the good highlights, are often repeated is because they're very much aware that people, when they come, they want to hear good news. And and nothing has changed in that way. I mean, I'm thrilled that you have come this morning, and I'm thrilled that I could get here this morning. And in our quest really to be genuine, to be transparent, and to live an honest life before the one that made you. It's good that we get an overview of the entire spectrum of how we're seen. And I'm saying this because obviously you love your children, you love your nieces, you love your nephews. You do. You love your spouse. You love your aunt, uncles, grandparents, parents. But some days, you still love them, but sometimes you don't necessarily like them. Wait a minute. And I'm saying it's almost the same. It is the same thing with him. He loves us, yes. Whatever preacher, pastor, whatever they go by, whatever title, when they say that the Most High love you, that's true. But we've read, and I was reading out of several different translations, but sometimes we irritate him. He still loves us, but sometimes he's not pleased with us. And well, again, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes in his running all creation, which is his prerogative to do, I don't necessarily like the way things occur in my life sometimes. Ain't nothing I can do about it. But I still want to live a life that's pleasing to him. And so, I'm saying all of that. That's why we're reading about the conversations that he had with the prophets, because a lot of times the prophets would say what he told them to say, and some of them got hit in the mouth. See, just because somebody say, "Thus saith the Lord," some people, that's not going to stop them. We were told, after we got all excited about the decision we made, and we wanted to just go out and witness to everybody initially. And some of the people that you shared your testimony with, the response you got threw you for a loop. And, I'm saying what I'm getting to is the reason we're in the prophets is because, yes, he loves us. Yes, we're the apple of his eye. Yes, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, and all the other things that we know how to spout off. But there's another side to it. And we all learn, whom he loves, he chastens. And sometimes the chastening is not pleasant. And that's when I get an attitude. Even as a child, I always felt that the correction was excessive from my parents. And of course, they had to remind me, they're the parent, I'm the child, And sometimes, if you struck a nerve, you might have got an extra what. But it's the same thing with him. See, sometimes we do things in our lives and we do things with our lives, and we knew better, but we wanted to do it anyway because we are our own person. And we learn, I got a free will. And so, particularly in this country, I think once you turn 21, I guess they consider you an adult, so you can make your own decisions. Well, even when you're talking 12 and 13, we made that declaration, speaking Hebraically, where you decided at that age or whatever that you were going to follow the things of the Most High and all of that. But in dealing with this thing about free will, I wanted to just throw out this caveat. Perhaps, I'm not saying that this is in stone, but perhaps the free will that we were given was to obey the instruction or not obey. Not what we think. When we say, I got free will, I can do whatever I want. I'm saying it may not be that. I didn't say it wasn't. What I was throwing out to you was perhaps the free will is to obey the instruction or not obey. That's what free will means to me. And where do you get that from? Because he said, what? I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. And then he gave us the answer. He said, but choose life. So in choosing life, you've got to go back. Well, hey, you made me. Do you have a manual? Yes, I have a manual for you, Barry. Here's how you should live your life. And so it's incumbent upon me to find out what my manufacturer, oh, Lord, I think I got another pair. What I've got to spend my remaining time here doing, is getting in the instructions and rightly understanding what the instructions are saying. Because see, saints, sometimes we think we're obeying the instruction, but our understanding is not full. And so we zig when we should zag. He said, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life. And then somebody else said what? Choose you this day who you going to serve. And then they got a song, whose report you going to believe? Whose body of information are you going to go with? All of those things are saying, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hear the instructions, son. Hear the instructions, daughter. Are you going to follow or are you going to go your own way? And so Jeremiah and some of the other prophets, they were going back and forth with the Most High because they would say, I told you, I said what you told me to say. And, you know, the people, they stoned me or they threw rocks at me or they cursed me. Same thing like I was saying earlier, when you give your testimony because you're all excited, you made a quality decision. But everybody in creation is not necessarily excited about the decision that you made. And so in that regard, you know, you're kind of confused and your feelings are hurt because now your testimony played long and loud in church, you know. But out there, you might get a different reception, is what I'm saying. And in reading and looking at the dissertation between the Most High and some of the prophets, you'll see that he's been irritated with us. In fact, he's used words like, and I'll wipe them out or I'll destroy them. The same creator. And again, I'm going to wear it out, but I keep pointing you back. Look at what he said, the lofty, beautiful things he said about Job. In the beginning, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the land. He fears me and he does everything he can to stay away from evil. And most of you know how that conversation went. And then a differing or accusatory entity shot back. Does Job serve you for naught? And see, folks, again, see those of us that are in the house of faith, they are people that think the only reason you serve the Most High is either because what you drive, where you live, who you dating or who you married to, or who you seeing, or where you work. It's like they discount the fact that you made a quality decision. I want to do the things of the Most High, and I want to do it His way and in His order. People would say, man, oh, something wrong with you. Where's the payoff? Particularly, and I'm working on getting away from that, but particularly in America. It appears we always got an angle. But there are a lot of people that want to do right. They want to do right. They want to live right. And they want to do right and they want to live right because they want to please their creator. The other stuff is nice. But there's some that don't have a nice place, don't wear nice clothes, might be unemployed, and they still want to do right. Let me get to this. In here it says the word of Adonai, and yeah, that's another thing. I like to use Yahweh. I'm not trying to throw anybody off. The translation that I'm using a lot of times uses Adonai. But from where I'm studying, I use Yahweh, but I'm talking about the true and the living. Okay? And if I say Adonai, okay, I'm still talking about the true and the living. The word of Yah came to Jeremiah a second time while he was still imprisoned in the guard's quarters. Now, here his prophet, here again, here's the man that he trusts to deliver the message. Where is he? He in jail. See, because again, a lot of us have been kind of, I won't say we've been taught, but it's kind of been suggested that once you give your heart to the Most High, life's a bowl of cherries. But it's not. We're gonna have challenges even in serving him. All of us are gonna have challenges. And your parents, they got their own challenges. Now, most of us know, Hebraically speaking, most parents got their kids back until the age of 12 or 13, or the age of what we call the age of accountability. And in different situations, parents have, if something's shared with a parent, and or particularly a father, and he don't agree, but if he don't agree with it, he need to make that known. Because if he says nothing, when the mess happened, he's got to clean it up because he didn't say anything. I'm going somewhere with this. No one escapes challenge in their life. No one. Don't care how nice you are, how cute you are, how handsome you are, how well you dress, how well you sing, how well you play. Whatever your profession, we all face challenges. And a lot of times the challenges that we face, sometimes it's of our own doing. And let's break this down a little bit. Think about this for a second. The one who had everything we see and don't see came out of him. And yet, he made us, and then he says, and I'm just using myself as an example, he says, all right, I done picked the vessels that's going to bring you in here. These two, they going to get together, and here you come. Now, son, now that you here, all that you see, you can work with. But I tell you, man, I want you to do so well. I'm going to give you a set of instructions how you to carry yourself while you down here enjoying all this, because I'm gonna make a covenant with you, and you know what you got. You know what you bring to the covenant or the arrangement. He says, Barry, all I want you to do, the main thing you can bring is obedience. And I couldn't even do that. Now, let me get this straight. Everybody sitting in here know what it is to form some type of partnership. And somebody that's got everything wants to partner up with you. Well, I want to partner up with me, and I got nothing. And they want to partner up with me. They got everything. And all they asked me to do was, well, okay, I got some rules. Let me put it that way. I got some rules that I want you to abide by so that you can navigate your way through life. And all I'm asking you to do is be obedient to the rules. And of course, I readily, having nothing, I'll take that deal. Sign me up. Sign me up. And I couldn't even keep my end of the bargain. Well, let me go a little further. Of course, you know that ain't the end of the story, because in his creation, he says, look, he gonna mess up. I don't know what day, but whatever day it was, he placed teshuvah in the earth. That's a Hebraic term for repentance. So now let me get this straight. The one that's got everything wanted to cut a deal with me who had nothing. He asked me, he said, well, what you bring, Barry, what I'm asking you to bring to the table, and I know that question makes some people mad, but that's basically what happened. And he said, bring your obedience so that you can have my kind of success in life. Because along with this, all of what you see, there are going to be challenges. And the challenge is, how obedient are you going to be to the instruction, which will help you navigate through life? Why are we so highly opinionated about what we think, even what we believe? You got the same deal that I got. I mean, let's think about that for a second. Everybody sitting here got the same deal. You had nothing. We got a lot of liars talking about, I'm successful because I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. Every one of us that was born, that came through the seed of a man, somebody wipe your nose and wipe your behind. We were like a little bowl of jelly. I mean, really, we couldn't do anything for ourselves. Why didn't we keep our end of the bargain? Let me read a little bit. The word of Yahweh came to Jeremiah a second time while he was still imprisoned in the guard's quarters. So what is that saying? What they're saying is sometimes, man, when you're down in the dumps and you feel like you've been hit, he's still speaking to you. He said, Barry, boy, you had a rough week, but this is what I want you to do. Now, if I'm going to go by if I'm going to serve him based on how I feel, I'm in trouble. Because how I feel made me not keep my end of the bargain. Because I got upset about something. Something didn't go the way I thought it should go. So now I got an attitude. Now, I'm just using myself for an example. Please feel free to insert yourself as you look at your own life, as you sit there. In prison, he says, thus says Yah, the maker, Yah, who formed the universe, so as to keep directing it. We all know when you're directing, you're barking out, hey, go here. Hey, go there. Hey, stop. Hey, come here. That's directing. That's directing. Directing is not just, now, and I'm not saying that it does, directing is not just sitting high and looking low. And I'm not taking a slap at the Most High at all. Directing is directing. It's leading. He's leading. Are we following? And then in our following, are we following properly? I remember at the end of the prayer this morning, Greg was saying it was impressed upon his heart that the Most High was indicating to him, listen, You got to get in this word and you got to look for a deeper meaning. Stop being so surfacey. I like to say, stop being so churchy. You know, don't be impressed that you can recite scripture. Again, so can a minor bird. Some parrots. But do they have any comprehension? Do they have any wisdom as to what they're saying? Are we that kind of believer? Oh, I know all the highlight, I know all the high stuff. You know, you ask somebody how they doing and you get a hour-long sermon, and every scripture they know, they hit you with it. I said, bruh, okay. And I've grown a little bit. When people would start doing that, I would wait and let them finish, and then I said, well, now, how you doing for real? You know, because after a while it starts sounding like tinkling brass, because it's just words. The Most High spoke to him. He's in prison, but he's still Yahweh's man in prison. And see, a lot of us, sometimes some things befall people, and we'll think, like they did with Job, Job, you done something, Job. His friends, and they were his friends, and they said they knew God. You know, I pray you hear that. And I'm gonna cut to the chase because they all got a chance to pontificate about how much scripture they knew and how they knew God. I know God. I know God. And we hear a lot of people say that. And after each one of them had something to say, Job put them in checkmate. But the coup de grace was after the Most High, who said, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the land. See, what happened to Job and what happens to us is a lot of times the people that you are constantly around will get you in your feelings. And we're not robots. He knows that too. But, they irritated Job because he was saying, man, I'm trying to tell you, I don't know. Now, Job wasn't saying that he was like the Most High. He was just saying, man, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Sometimes, saints, stuff happen in our lives, and we say, well, I mean, you feel like you got blindsided. And as far as you know, you've been walking upright to your level of understanding, or I should say to our level of understanding. And so you have people that came in wanting to comfort you initially, but then our intellect, our feelings, our understanding of the scriptures come in, and you say, Barry, you had to do something. Don't use me, because I did do something. Job, you had to do something. And Job, remember, it said Job even almost cursed the day he was born. He was so frustrated. And I ain't gonna go over this again because I know the ladies get upset, but his wife said something to him and he said something back to her. But Job, and again, that's a tough spot. We've been in some tough spots, but ain't none of us went through what Job went through. And then you got fellow believers in your ear. You done something. You done something. I know God. God don't. And see, that's the thing. God don't do. Ooh, forgive me. Who do we think we are? Who do we think we are that we can say what he will or won't do? That's a danger. Folks, we don't realize what. You playing with fire. Look, you and he, we will never be like this with him. I don't care what church you come from, who your pastor is, you will never be like this with him. I don't care what kind of library you got. You will never be like this with him. He is who he is. So be careful about talking about what he will or won't do. But yeah, be that. Job got in his feelings. And he said so much because, you know, the Most High let everybody bump their gums. Everybody got their say. They got to give their truth. That's the new thing now. People don't care so much about what thus saith Yah. They want to give you their truth, which is the same as our righteousness, which is the same as something very unsanitary, and I'll leave it at that. So remember now, the Most High, the same Most High that said, have you considered my servant Job? He said, Job, boy, you talked a lot of stuff. I'm paraphrasing now. He said, I tell you what, put your big boy pants on. I got some questions for you, and you're going to give me an answer. And see, you don't ever want to be living your life in such a way, because he will. See, we don't think he won't grab us in the car. Oh, I guess we see some doddering old man that can barely see, and we just living a life of sin thinking he ain't going to see, and then think we going to be right up there with him. But I'm paraphrasing. He said to Job, put your big boy pants on. I got some questions for you. And then he began to ask him a series of questions, which you know Job couldn't answer. But then he still loved Job now. And guess what? He still loved the three know-it-alls too. The ones that know God. He still loved them too, but this is what he said to them. Basically, I'm paraphrasing again. Listen, don't even pray to me. You have misrepresented me. If you want something from me, I don't want to hear nothing from you. Go to Job, who he had just reamed Job out. See, that book of Job, I'm going to tell you, some of us, well, probably all of us, one way or another, are one of those characters in that whole scenario where you know you ain't the Most High. And I want to say something, but that might be judgmental, so I ain't going to say that. So we definitely can all agree we ain't he. We not him. So you can either have the personality of Job, one of them three friends, Job's wife, and there was one or two other people. But our personalities, the way we think, the way we live, fit one of those categories. Read the whole thing and look for yourself in there. Look at what the three friends said, each one. Because when you look at it, at the letter of it, it sounded accurate to man. And I'm saying it the way I'm saying it for a reason. But for him to tell them who swore up and down that the way they was talking, they would have bet their life, I know God. And he said, listen, If you want something from me, don't even come to me. Go to Job. And by the time the Most High, who still loved him, he loved all of them. Job said, he tore him a good one, as he's done us too, but he still loves us. He said, I'm going to put my hand on my mouth. I ain't going to say no more. Okay, one more thing. Because he realized he stepped in it. And see, saints, a lot of times we do things in life and we done stepped in it, and sometimes he let us stay in it for a while. And that's what the prophets point this kind of stuff out. Folks, sometimes he's I was being polite. I said he's irritated. Sometimes he's angry with us. I was, the last time I was doing this thing, we have forgotten that we are in America because our ancestors were kicked out of, sent into exile. But see, what has happened is we got nice cars, we got nice houses, we got 2-3 suits of clothes, got 15 sitting in the bank, take a vacation when we want. And so we forgot we're still in exile. That's what I meant when I kept saying we think we live lives of King's Dominion and Busch Gardens. Really, we do. And for a lot of believers, they think that's the measure of how much the Most High love them. And so sometimes, when things turn a little sour, I got to remember, hey, bruh, he ain't happy with you. He still love you. And so you can take that same scenario and apply it in your family, in your life. Again, you love them every day. Most of us love our kin every day. But some days, you might not even want to see them. Don't mean you don't love them. You might be disappointed. You don't necessarily have to be angry. You might be disappointed. Or let me flip it, because we're not perfect either. We may have disappointed somebody. We may have made somebody angry. But they still love us. Then says Yah, the maker, Yah, who formed the universe so as to keep directing it. Yah is his name. They say Adonai. Call out to me and I will answer you. I will tell you great things, hidden things of which you are unaware. So even I got to remind myself, Barry, when you done stepped in it. And that's why I say, and I'm talking about myself when I say this. I'm hesitant because I can only imagine. I'm like, I stink. And I don't want to go before him. And I'm not making a self-righteous statement. I mean, think about it. When you were little, because once we got to be a teenager, we got pretty slick. But when we were under teenage numbers, you really didn't even want to be around your parents when you got away with something. You eventually, of course, you came in when it was time to eat or whatever. But, I'm going to go there. Think about it. Don't look at Jeremiah 33. Keep your eye up there. But I want to ask you all something. those of you that it applied to. I'll put it this way. When you did something that you know your parents just, they weren't with it, and you went out and the mission accomplished, the next morning, when you looked in their face, I'm not saying don't answer, just think about how did you really feel? Knowing what you had done. Knowing that they were not aware. And they may have been, I don't know, because sometimes our parents maybe have seen us do some things or overheard something, and they just didn't say anything. Think about it. And so I'm saying, see, when I done stepped in it, and I know I done stepped in it, I know everybody say, but Barry, the scripture say, come boldly before the throne of grace. But I'm like, man, do you really want to go in the Holy of Holies smelling like a skunk? Do you really? I mean, think about it. Listen. Even in, I don't even want to bring that up. If you're in a land where they got a king, I'll put it that way, do you know you're not even supposed to have a sad countenance coming in the presence of a king, an earthly king? Think about that. Think about that for a minute. And then here's another thing. Okay, you got past your parents, and maybe you be like, well, shoot, they don't never let me have no fun no way. But here's one that really kind of gets you. Because your grandparents just think you walk on water. Remember that? I tell you, sometimes your mom and dad, they ain't ready to put you out. They'll tell you they're going to put you out. But they're so disappointed with us, but you can always go to grandma and grandpa's house. Some of us, our grandparents might have saved us from getting a whipping. But I'm saying that to say, again, we're all fairly intelligent. Somebody made a deal with you. All you can see, you can have access to. All I'm asking is that you just obey the instructions that I gave you so that you will be successful. And we couldn't hold up our end. That ought to bother us. Call out to me and I will answer. I will tell you great things, hidden things of which you are unaware. For here is what Yah, the God of Israel, says concerning the houses of this city and the palaces of the kings of Judah, which are about to be destroyed and used as siege works and ramparts. Here we go again. I read earlier last week where he said, all that calamity, all that trouble. He said, I did this, I brought this upon you. The same one that told you, you're precious, you're the apple of my eye. We read earlier where it even said it's as if sometimes when he's correcting us, it's as if he's crying. Because he's saying, Barry, why don't you just do right? Don't be so stubborn. Don't be so highly opinionated. And he'll say to us sometimes, he'll say, boy, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. We think, well, see here, God. I've studied with some of the world's greatest idiots. I mean, man, people, we are too puffed up. We are too puffed up. And I keep hearing my father say, and I mean, when he would say this, he was at his height of frustration. Remember when he used to say, you don't know beans? That's what he was saying. Because people sit there and they think, well, I know this and I know this and nah. Man, you don't know stuff from Shinola. Be careful with that. He said, which he's about to destroy and be used as siege work and ramparts, where they will come to fight the Chaldeans. These places will eventually be filled with the corpses of people whom I am striking down in my anger and fury. See, you don't hear this much. You don't hear, that's the Most High talking, folks. He's angry. He said, I know young people, and I'm not picking on young people, but young people really take umbrage when they feel like they're being disrespected. You dissing me. You dissing me. Well, you got old folk that will say that too. Respect and things like that. That's a two-way street. You just can't carry yourself any kind of way, and then when somebody say something to you, you talking about you being disrespected. You're out of order. And that's young or old. People are being disrespectful. And so when with the same measure you meet, it'll be measured to you again. See, a lot of us, we can give it out, but when it come back to us, crocodile tears. And then sometimes you talking junk, and for the guys anyway, and it get physical. If you know you can't fight, you better shut up. And I tell you this, for all of us to remember, there's always somebody hit faster, hit harder. Remember that. Now, I'm not saying be afraid. Protect your life, protect your family. But a lot of times, man, we just need to zip it sometimes. And then there's an analogy. If you dealing with an idiot, don't. Because when the volume escalates, and it will, people can't tell who's the idiot. And when you walk away from an incident, don't turn your back away. Keep your eye on that fool. And that's for when you out there. In here, I hope you're safe in here. But the instructions that we're being given, they're not for in here. They're for out there. They're for in your households. They're for when you're doing business with people. They're for when you're going to the gym, going to the grocery store, cutting your grass, doing the act of crusade, cutting your neighbor's grass. That's what the instructions are for. They're for us to live by, not pick and choose. They are not suggestions. They're directives. I'm not getting very far, but that's all right. He says, these places will be filled with the corpses of people whom I am striking down in my anger and fury, everyone whose wickedness has caused me to hide my face from this city. And then he says, however, I will bring it health and healing. See, again, remember the same Most High. Some of the conversations he had, that's why, I like definitely the first 5 books, because when you look at some of the writings of the dissertations of some of the conversations that is alleged to have taken place between he and Moses, they had plucked his nerves so, we know they plucked Moses' nerves so much so, instead of speaking to the rock in anger, he struck the rock. And that went too far in the eyes of the Most High. And he said, well, I'm going to let you see it, but you're not going to cross it. But they used to go back and forth. They're your people. No, they're your people. No, they're your people. No, they're your people. He said, hey, man. And, the Most High knew. Moses ain't have all them people. So what I'm trying to convey to you is sometimes, folks, we irritate him. And we think sometimes that stuff's cute. And I always like to share with parents, because sometimes they do. You see the little ones do stuff, and it's kind of cute, but you need to explain to them, listen, that's okay here in this house. Don't do that outside of the house. Somebody might hurt you. And then when you get to a certain age, that thing that you think is cute and they let you get away with, after a while they say, okay, you're too old to be acting that way. You ever heard that? I know I heard it. I'm sitting back there. I'm standing up here looking at Arthur. Y'all know I used to be mean to my brother Arthur. And now, right, Greg said, don't try it now. I ain't. I don't know if you remember this. That time we was taking a bath, and I poured that hot scalding water down your back just to see him jump. But my brother loved me. He never really, he should have knocked me out. But I've told you all, I'm the only one that have fought all my brothers. That's a shame. You almost started a fight, is that? No, but I'm going somewhere with this. Listen. At that time, he was a better brother to me than I was to him. And I mean, now, I'm sure they had verbal altercations, but I can't even remember. I was pretty rotten. Wow. And that had to be the Most High reminding me of that. All right. Okay, I've embarrassed myself. Woo. But again, we do things, and to us, it's kind of cute. And sometimes, man, when you do something and you know it's wrong and you get away with it, you kind of get emboldened a little bit. You think, well, maybe he'll let me slide again. Let me read what he said again. So this will help us when we start thinking, I'm going to try that again. He said, these places will eventually be filled with the corpses of people whom I am striking down in my anger and fury. everyone whose wickedness has caused me to hide my face from this city. So what am I saying? What I'm conveying to you is, listen, let's stop the shenanigans. Let's stop it. Especially now that we are of age. We know better. The problem isn't that we don't know what to do. The problem is we don't have the will to do what's right. Or we need to encourage our will to do right. We need to want to do right. And for his sake, I mean, it's really for our sake, but if that's what pleases him, that's what we want to do. We want to be obedient sons and daughters of the Most High. But then, like I said, he tear you up one minute, and then he kind of patting us up the next. He said, however, I will bring it health and healing. I will heal them and reveal to them peace and truth in plenty. Buddy of mine, I ain't gonna call his name. I ought to know who he is. I remember when he used to be in church, and he'd get to cutting up, and his dad was in the choir stand. His dad came down from the choir stand. Came and got him, took him out in the vestibule, stuffed his handkerchief in his mouth, and tore him up. And he's older than me, and he still remembers that. Why am I sharing that with you? I'm sharing that with you is because sometimes that's how he do us sometimes. You know his dad still loved him, but he wore him out. And so you don't want to make a lot of noise in church, but voices carry. I remember that, and I'm going to close with this. I remember that time Bernita's little grandson was boys are rambunctious. They just gonna be rambunctious. And old B she got him. She wasn't rough with him, but she was walking, she was intentionally walking to the back. And I remember I was teaching, and I'm telling you, I know people thought that was me, but I'm telling you, I was impressed with the Lord. I just said, have mercy. I'm telling you, because I knew he was going to get correction, that's a good thing. It wasn't good for him then. But I tell you, 40 years from now, he might remember that. Why am I sharing? I'm telling you, sometimes we get bumps and bruises, but even the bumps and bruises is for our good. He still loves us. And the fact that he still loves us, we still here. We got another opportunity to be obedient to the instruction that he's given us. I'm going to get ready to close. I see it counting down. I didn't get very far in the scriptures, but I tell you, I really want you to consider. I want you to consider exactly the way I laid it out. We had nothing. He had everything, and he wanted to make a deal with us. I know that's not the scriptural way to say it, but that's the long and short of it. And all he asked us to do to bring to the negotiations was a willingness to be obedient. And he even said, when you can't do that, I still offer you the deal. Just do a 180. And all that I promised you before is back in your stewardship. Folks, he's made us an offer we should not refuse. God bless you.